Major roster updates for the West Virginia Mountaineer football program as they get ready for the biggest game of the year, the Backyard Brawl against the team up I-79. What is up, and welcome to this live edition of Couz's Corner here on YouTube at Couz's Corner and over on Facebook at the WV Sports Chat page. Thank you for joining the show. Please hit that like button. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't. If you're watching on Facebook, please come over to the YouTube channel after we're done here and check out what we've done over there in the past. And please subscribe. Now, I know the Rich Rodriguez show is currently going on. That's why I postponed this to 7 o'clock to get through the first hour, which is when most of the major stuff is talked about. But one of the things they talked about, and Rich Rod confirmed, was that wide receiver Jaden Bray, because of a foot injury, and running back Jahiem White, because of a knee injury, will miss the remainder of the 2025 football season. That is absolutely devastating news, primarily for those two young men. Jahiem White, chose to stick around with the Mountaineers. He chose to be loyal. He thought about transferring, but he decided to stay. Thought he could be successful in Rich Rod's system. Put in the work in the offseason. We all saw pictures of how he transformed his body. He worked hard, did all the right things, learned the system, was expected to be the guy, not only in the backfield, but really on the entire offense. The entire offense was likely going to run around Jahiem White. Unfortunately, because of a dirty play, I'll go ahead and say it, a dirty play, a horse collar, face mask, roll-up tackle, all in one by a player on Ohio's team, he is now out for the rest of the football season. And as far as Jaden Bray, man, you've got to feel for this young man. He has been riddled with injuries his entire career. I think Coach Rod, if I understood him correctly, Bray has missed time in his career already because of this same injury. It's a foot injury. He missed a big chunk of last year. He's missed time when he was at Oklahoma State. You've got to feel for the young man. He just cannot stay healthy. And the young man's very talented, very good player, and was going to be a big part of this team this year, but he just cannot, for whatever reason, his body is just not allowing him to play football. And I hate it for him that his career, it's likely going to end his career. We don't know that yet. Maybe he gets a waiver, comes back, but it looks like he will at least miss this season. So I hate it for both these young men. Also, I hate it for this program. I mean, both of these guys were starters. Jaden was the number 2 receiver behind Cam Vaughn. Obviously, we all know about Jahiem, was an all Big 12 first team performer in the preseason at many outlets. Was likely, had a really good chance to run for 1,000 yards this year. Just it's devastating, really. And now there was some good news that the West Virginia team got today. Roster related, but we'll talk about that in the second half of the show. But right now, focusing on Jahiem and Bray announcements. I mean, when you look at the wide receiver position, somebody's got to step up. I mean, you've got to get more productivity out of people like Preston Fox. Justin Smith-Brown is likely going to have to play a bigger role now. Maybe Jeffrey Weimer steps up. It's going to be an opportunity for somebody to step up and make plays. I'll be interested to see who gets the nod in Jaden Bray's place as a starter this Saturday. But even those guys who don't start are going to get a chance to make plays. I mentioned Justin Smith-Brown, Preston Fox, Jeffrey Weimer. Your slot receivers like Oren Singleton may have to step up. Rodney Gallagher. Maybe one of those guys even spreads out and plays on the outside, plays the wideout spot for some snaps. Who knows? There are a lot of different ways you can do it. But somebody's got to step up and take on, Jaden Bray was playing very consistent so far the first couple games of the season. Cam Vaughn was kind of the big play, big play guy. But Jaden Bray was just that consistent receiver that could catch the ball. You could lean on and when you needed some yardage, needed a play, he could make it for you. And unfortunately, he's going to be out the rest of the year. And so, who steps up? I personally think you'll probably see Preston Fox step into that starter role because he's experienced. He's been there before. That's my expectation, but you never know. We might see Justin Smith-Brown or somebody else. Now, as far as Jahiem goes, even though the Jaden Bray thing is bad for the team, I think the Jahiem White injury could potentially be devastating. I mean, we saw once Jahiem went out of that game, Jahiem had 40 yards rushing, a 32-yard touchdown run, I think it was, and was playing pretty well considering the line was struggling. After he went out, the team rushed for only another 32 yards, I believe it was, on the ground. So you cannot overstate how important he was to this offense. I mean, to me, they were building it around him, in my opinion. You kind of had to. He was going to be your guy, right? He was going to be your stud, your workhorse. So who steps up? Well, we saw Clay Ash get most of the snaps as RB2 once Jahiem went out. As a matter of fact, Ash has played a total of 49 snaps so far in 2 games. He played 14 snaps in the Robert Morris game and 35 snaps against Ohio. His stats, rushing the ball, he's rushed the ball 5 times for 23 yards. He rushed it 5 for 23 yards against Robert Morris, 4 times for 2 yards against Ohio. So his rushing numbers have not been great. Who else could step up? Well, most of us, or most of the fan base, has really been excited about Sincere Bowers. Sincere Bowers is one of the fastest players on the team. He's a sub 4.4 guy, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Has not really played a ton right now. He's played a total of 18 snaps. He played 12 snaps against Robert Morris, 6 snaps against Ohio. Against Ohio, he ran the ball 1 time for -1 yards. Got stopped behind the line. He ran it 6 times for 54 yards against Robert Morris. He did show some burst and some speed when he was in the game against the Colonials in game 1. So if you can give him a little bit of a crease and he can get downhill, he's going to be and get past the line of scrimmage, get him some space, he's going to be tough to catch. So I'm hoping, I personally would love to see Sincere Bowers be the guy, because I think he's going to give this offense a bigger punch, some more juice, whatever you want to call it, more speed, make him hard to stop. I love Clay Ash. He's gritty. He's tough. He knows what he's doing out there. He's got some decent speed, obviously, but he doesn't have anything near the speed of a Sincere Bowers or even a Jahiem White. And I would love to see him have somebody in there that's got some really good breakaway speed. Other backs that could be in the mix, obviously Ty Edwards. Haven't seen a lot of him. He's played a total of 8 snaps, 4 snaps in each game. Has yet to carry the football in either of those games. But, he was a little bit behind the other guys because of the whole lawsuit, the ineligibility questions that were lingering over him in camp. So he wasn't able to practice with the team. So it got him behind. Well, he hasn't been ruled eligible. He has been practicing for the last couple of weeks, has been in the games. Hopefully by now he's caught up. Is he going to be ready finally to step in and get some carries against Pitt? I would love to see him get some carries. I really hope he's ready to do that. We heard Rich Rod talk in his show tonight, right before I came on. They asked him about this, and he was like, there's obviously more to it than running the football. You've got to be able to block. If you can't block, you may not see the field a whole lot. So you've got to be able to block and run if you want to play for Coach Rodriguez. Can Ty Edwards do that? Obviously, we don't know yet. But let's hope he's ready to go. Let's hope he's called up. Let's hope he knows the playbook. He knows the system well enough now that he can get a larger share of the snaps. To me, if you got a guy like Sincere Bowers who can be that lightning, that fast guy, and then you can have Ty Edwards be your power back, your thunder guy, I think that would be a really good combination if both of them can be successful and they can complement each other a little bit. But the main thing is you have got to get blocking from your offensive line. Cannot say that enough. A 56, 55, whatever it was, offensive grade run blocking is not going to cut it against Pitt. You got to play better. Rich Rod addressed that in the show tonight. He went the positivity route. You could tell he wasn't wanting to discourage the players at all. But we all saw the game. It was not pretty. So they've got to clean that up. Hopefully they will. Maybe Saturday was just a bad game. They had to travel to Ohio. They had spent the night in Columbus the night before. Maybe for whatever reason, that trip was not a good trip for them, and maybe they'll come back home against Pitt and be ready to go. But anyway, back to the running backs. You've got, Tyler Jacklich, who they brought in from the portal, in the middle of fall camp. He's only played a couple snaps. He did have 1 carry for 10 yards. And then, Cannon Katzer. Cannon Katzer has not seen the field yet. My understanding is, based on what I've read, is he's been banged up. He's the back they brought in from a Division II school during the winter or I guess you call it spring portal window. Not sure if he's ready to go yet. Not sure if he's healthy. And of course, we haven't even seen Dior Hubbard yet. Not sure what's going on with him. Coach Rod continues to say he'd like to get him some carries. Apparently, he's just being outplayed at practice by all the other backs because he is yet to see the football field. But I'd love to see him get in the mix as well. But regardless, I trust Coach Rodriguez. I trust the running backs coach. I trust that they are going to find the right guys, the right person for the job, for the RB1 job. If you get that guy and he can get the majority of the snaps this week with the first team, then hopefully he'll be ready to go. But yeah, this is not good news. I mean, Jahiem White, the offense is going to have to figure out ways to score, ways to move the football. You may not be able to lean on your running game as heavily as you would have in the past, unless somebody like a Bowers or an Edwards breaks out. Then maybe you can. But it looks to me like you're probably going to have to rely more on the passing game, unfortunately, unless you can blend in some quarterback run game, which means you might have to take a different look at someone else at quarterback. And maybe he does that this week. He says it's still up for competition. He actually made a comment that he wanted to get a third quarterback in the game last week or this past weekend. So I would not be surprised if we see two quarterbacks again Saturday. I doubt we'll see three, but it will not surprise me if we see two. And heck, who knows? Maybe we do see three quarterbacks. If the first two guys aren't getting it done, he may put Scotty Fox or Max Brown or someone in the game until he finds the right guy to run this offense. But, we've heard Coach Rodriguez say some things before that he has yet to follow through on. Maybe he's wanted to follow through on them and the timing just hasn't worked out or the situation just hasn't worked out. But we've got to have a running back, to me. When you've got your number one star running back out, you're struggling to run the football. What do? You bring in a quarterback that can run the football. To me, that's the best way to do it. But I'm also not a Power 4 football coach, so what do I know? But let me know your thoughts in the comments. Let's go ahead and get to some comments real quick. And then the second half of the show, we will talk about the news, the addition to the roster, okay? We've got Denny Allen in the house, who's a paid VIP member. He says, exactly right, Couz. I completely trust this staff. Year one in 2001 record was 3-8. Not saying it's okay to lose, but Rich will get this right, and we will be winning again. And I hope you're right, Denny. I have that same faith. Man, I just hope we're right. Trick No Good in the house. He says, be funny. Ohio win and upset Ohio State if Ohio win and upset Ohio State this weekend. It would be funny, and it would also be great for West Virginia. Curtis D says, RR is going to fail here. I can already see it. He was forced on us by those big donors. I hope that's not the case. I really do. We've got Trick No Good again in the house. He says, let's go Mountaineers. Browns and Beers in the house. Here for you, Couz, and we'll be there Saturday, but I'm very sad. Yeah, me too, man. Me too, brother. Me too. And I will be there Saturday as well. Hopefully we'll run into each other. This is terrible news, but the O-line is the problem. It says Trick No Good. We've got Caleb 31, Patrick and Kerry Cottrell. T-Jinx 048, another VIP member, says, I'm so tired seeing people online act like Rich Rodriguez is already a failure because of what happened Saturday. Come on, guys. Stop being so damn emotional about everything. Give Rich some time. Look, how often in college sports do you see a new coach come in, a new staff come in, and this many new players come in, and the team be good year one? Yes, you can use Indiana as an example last year, but they had 30-some transfers. Rich has over 50 transfers. Indiana also played a cake schedule. I think they played one team that had a winning record or something like that, some crazy number. And the two teams they played that were ranked, both beat them. That was Ohio State and Notre Dame. So Indiana's not a good example to me. It's apples and oranges. No team has ever had 80 new players on a team, on a roster. I think it's a tall task to even expect them. Now, I predicted a bowl game, but it might be a tall task to even expect that in year one. But I know us fans are impatient, and we're not going to accept that. I get it. Trick No Good says he expects more from Gallagher. Yeah, I would love to see Gallagher step up and make some plays, especially this Saturday. Big Dan T in the house. With how the O-line is playing, I'm not sure we have a back that will step up. Someone is going to have to. I agree, man. The line is just struggling right now. That's been the big storyline really ever since Saturday, all over social media, all over the message boards. Because, us football fans, we're not stupid. And we know what we're watching most of the time. We may not be experts, we're not, great, but we can tell when an O-line is not blocking well, and it was obvious the O-line was not blocking well. Brandon Bell in the house. Denny Allen says the rev share did not come through until July. It's a great point. I guess someone asked about that in the chat. Brandon Bell's asking how Pitt is looking. Right now, Pitt has won both of their games. They beat Duquesne 60-something. They scored 60-some points on Duquesne, their FCS opponent. And then they put up 40-some points against Central Michigan this past week. They really haven't played anybody that good yet, but they have done what they were supposed to do and beat them both soundly. So, and I'll be honest, Pitt's got a lot. They've got a lot of guys. They're bringing a lot of guys back from last year. They have 7 returning starters from last year's defense that had 41 sacks, by the way. That's a concern. They gave up 3.1 yards per carry. That's a concern. Can the O-line step up and stop this? They got a great linebacker core. Phil Steele says they're one of the top 5 linebacker cores in the nation. They obviously have Eli Holstein at quarterback. They have Desmond Reed at running back. So they have a lot. So it's going to be a very, very tough task. I'm just being real with you. Let me see. Who else we got in here? Caleb Shaq in the house. He says, I'm late, but make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe. Thank you, Shaq. I appreciate that. And hype button. Yeah. If you're watching this on the replay, you should see a hype button between the download button and the thanks button on if you're watching on a mobile device. Please hit that. It won't show up on live streams, but once it's after the live's over and it's up as an on-demand video, you should have it there to hit. All right. Let's go ahead and talk about the other good news of the day, or the other news of the day, which is more positive news. I'm going to do a quick screen share here, and we're going to talk about Jimmori Robinson. First off, here's an article put up by Skylar Callahan over at West Virginia on SI, and I think I don't have it. I don't have the article up yet. Here it is. All right. Let me try this again. Sorry, guys. This is sometimes hard to navigate. All right, here we go. Now we're in. Here we go. All right, Jimmori Robinson. This is over at West Virginia on SI by Skylar Callahan. WVU pass rusher Jimmori Robinson has been cleared to play. Tremendous news for a West Virginia team that sorely needs some positivity. I'm going to skip the first part. Says there is some good news as star pass rusher Jimmori Robinson has been given the green light, clearing the way for him to play this season. The news was first reported by Ear Sports. Then it goes on to talk about the lawsuit he was involved in with Ty Edwards, Jeffrey Weimer, and Justin Harrington, how they won their eligibility in the courts because of their JUCO day years. But, the NCAA attorney stood up in that hearing and said, hey, Robinson's not even eligible because of academic issues. Well, apparently they have, it's taken some time. It's taken a few weeks, but they've apparently got that cleared up, got it cleaned up, got approval from the NCAA. And as far as what Ear Sports had to say about it, Mike Couz put up a tweet on it, which I'll share with you as well. But here's what he had to say. And this was the original source for Skylar's article. But Mike Couz says, sources tell at earsports.com, the NCAA contacted WVU and Jimmori Robinson today to finalize his appeal. The expectation is the 2024 AAC, now American Conference, Defensive Player of the Year will be ruled eligible. The plan is for Robinson to debut at home Saturday against Pitt. Now, that's the plan for him to debut. There might be some challenges there. It's my understanding before players can be eligible, there's a structure that they have to practice, a certain number of practices without pads, a certain number of practices in pads. I'm not sure where they stand in all of that. They might have to, he might have to practice in pads, one day when the rest of the team isn't, or maybe the whole team practices in pads one day just to get him eligible. I don't know how it's going to work. And it's possible he may not even be eligible by this Saturday. But at least by the time they roll into Big 12 play next weekend against Kansas, hopefully Jimmori Robinson will be an active part of this team and of this roster. And two, his conditioning. Where's his conditioning going to be? How many snaps will he realistically be able to play this Saturday? I don't want to get my expectations too high because we never really know again, it's going to be hard just to plug him right in and have him pick up where he left off last year. It doesn't quite work that way. So don't get your hopes up that he's going to come in and play, 50, 60 snaps. Maybe he does. Maybe he shocks us all. Maybe he's been working his tail off. But, man, you can do all the side work you want because, remember, he hasn't been able to practice. You can do all the side work you want, but there's nothing like game shape, right? Even not being able to practice is different than doing side workouts on your own. So how good a shape will he be in? And what will his conditioning be like? How far behind is he in picking up the defense? We don't know any of that yet. But we will find out this Saturday. Real quick, I almost forgot. I have to give a shout out to my sponsor. So let's do that real quick. And a disclaimer here, all lines are subject to change. And this ad read you're going to hear is from last week, so disregard it. But it still applies to this week's game against Pitt. Right now, the spread sits at 6.5 according to DraftKings. And the special, the $300 deal still stands. So here it is. This episode is brought to you by Game On. Week 1 of the NFL season starts right now. And heck, for college football fans, we're already into week 2 of the season. And every touchdown brings you closer to a payout with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Right now, if you want to place a bet on any game, you can do so at DraftKings Sportsbook. For example, if you want to place a bet on the West Virginia-Ohio game, which right now sits with West Virginia favored at -3.5, you can do that. And by the way, lines are subject to change and odds are subject to change. For new customers, this one's for you. You bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets instantly. Plus, grab over $200 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Your season starts now. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code Couz, that's code COUZ, to get $300 in bonus bets instantly when you place your first bet of $5 or more. Plus over $200 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Do you have a gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. Fees may apply in Illinois. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void on Ontario. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. See sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos. NFL Sunday Ticket offer for new subscribers only and auto renews until canceled. Digital games and commercial use excluded. Restrictions apply. Additional NFL Sunday Ticket terms at youtube.com/go/NFL Sunday Ticket/terms. Limited time offer. All right, thank you for being patient. Let me get through the housekeeping there, and thanks to DraftKings for supporting the show. And again, that was the ad read from last week, so obviously that game has already been played. The line for this week is -6.5, at least last time I checked. Pitt being favored in Morgantown. So, you usually get about 2 to 3 points for being the home team, right? Which means they think Pitt is about an 8 or 9 point better, probably a 9 to 10 point favorite if it was on a neutral field. But that line could move, especially with the Jahiem White news. It would not surprise me to see that line jump even more. But, we'll see what happens. But and it's not that surprising after West Virginia lost to Ohio. The Pitt is up, I actually thought the line might be bigger than that, to be honest. I was actually surprised it wasn't bigger than 6.5. It actually started out about 3.5. That was really shocking. Talkie's Pitt's in the house. He says, even with Robinson playing, I think Pitt can wear down WVU, but still expect a good game. Hope White gets healthy, by the way. I think that was on purpose on Ohio's part. Yeah, I don't want to go as far as to say it was on purpose, but nonetheless, there's a reason there's a 15-yard penalty assessed for horse collaring a guy and for roll tackling a guy, and heck, even a face mask. The guy did all 3 of those. You can only call 1 penalty, but he did all 3 of those. I'm not going to go as far as to say it was on purpose because I don't know his intent, but nonetheless, it was still a dirty play because there was no reason he had to horse collar him to get him down. He could have tackled him by his feet, by his legs. But thank you for being in here, Talkers Pitt. I appreciate you, man. On paper, Pitt is definitely the better football team right now, especially after last week's performances. Obviously, having Jimmori Robinson in there, they really haven't had, Coach Alley has been bringing some pressure, but he's had to bring it from different guys, from like Fred Perry coming from the edge, from the nickel spot. You know, they've had Devin Grant trying to bring pressure from the edge. They've had Curtis Jones, Braden Siders, but nobody on this roster, at least based on their pedigree anyway, is as good as good of a pass rusher as what we're going to get with Jimmori Robinson. So having him in the lineup, if he's able to go, could be a huge boost. And it would just, and if at the very least, it would give quarterback Eli Holstein something else to worry about, because they're going to know who Jimmori Robinson is, right? Especially now that it's all over the news and people like me are talking about it, and others, SI and 24/7, all these sites are talking about it. It's out there now. They're going to know he's and if he's on the field, they see him dressed, they see him lined up on that edge. At the very least, you're going to think, hey, man, this guy here might be coming after me. I better do something. That's at least you get that, right? And at best, you get a Jimmori Robinson that picks up where he left off when he played for UTSA, and he's able to wreak havoc in the backfield. Now, I'm not expecting that his first game back after being out for so long and not being able to practice. I think that's unrealistic, right? But again, just having him in the lineup to me is a step in the right direction, especially if he can be somewhere at least close to 100% by the time they get into Big 12 play here next weekend, or say in a couple weeks. So this is great news for a fan base that needed it. Haven't heard, they didn't address it, at least when I stopped listening to Coach Rod's show, they had not addressed it yet. So we'll see if it gets addressed in the press conference tomorrow. If one of you heard him say something about it after I turned it off, let me know. But I would love to see him in a lineup and see number 0 out there. I think he's going to be wearing number 0 or maybe number 8. I can't remember. But I'd love to see him going after the quarterback. Denny Allen, a great comment here. I like this. He says, we may have to utilize the 2 and 3 tight end sets to assist with run blocking. Absolutely right. You might have to bring Jacob Barrick and Grayson Barnes both in the game at times. Heck, you might even see him go to, I think I mentioned this earlier, you might even see him go to a 2-back set where you have Ty Edwards and Clay Ash, or Ty Edwards and Sincere Bowers in the game at the same time. Or maybe you use Colin McBee, who's played some fullback. Maybe you bring him in the game, line him up back there as just strictly a blocker. Rich Rod, it's not his first rodeo. He'll figure something out. Will what he figure out work? We don't know obviously yet, because at the end of the day, your guys have to execute whatever position you put them in, and that you have to be determined also whether they do that. Jacob Yoho, I guess, is predicting an 8-4 season. Faza says Pitt -5.5, almost a toss-up as far as I'm concerned. Yep, worried about players getting poached. I agree with that, Caleb, for sure. Heck, we got to worry about Jahiem getting poached, right? Cam Vaughn, any of these guys, you got to worry about it. Shaq said, high expectations got me mad Saturday. I'm keeping them low, LOL. It's hard to keep them low, isn't it, Shaq? It's really hard. Have I seen anything on Carrico? I have heard he might miss. Yeah, I have not, Big Dan T. The report that came out today that I read, there were several reports out about these injuries. The one on Carrico said there had been no update. So, but yeah, he apparently went. I did not even see his injury, but apparently he got hurt in like the second or third play of the game. I'm not even sure what the injury is, but I have not heard a word, Big Dan T. If anybody else knows, let us know in the chat room. Let's see. Daniel Gigax, what's up, brother? He's in the house. Says hi. Losing White and Bray is going to hurt. Absolutely. Does anybody know if Max Brown is good to go? I think he was dressed last week, as far as I know, but he did not play. Word on the street is he had a hamstring problem, I think. But so that's something, I'm sure he'll be able to come back from. Will he be back this week is yet to be determined. But I would not be surprised to maybe even see him in the game. I'm sure he's probably a little behind the other guys from missing time. But I think he probably got enough reps in the spring and summer and fall camp he shouldn't be that far behind. Big Dan T says, I'm not meaning to be a bucket of cold water, but even the tight ends didn't block well. Unless the line gets their act together, nothing we do will matter. And, Big Dan, you're not throwing cold water on it, man. You're being honest. And you're absolutely right. The entire team really didn't block very well. There were a handful of guys that had decent blocking grades, But for the most part, everybody on the team had blocking grades no higher than in the 60s. But, even having that extra body in there just to get in the way of somebody, if that can buy you a half a second or a second, it can help, especially if you've got somebody like a Sincere Bowers who has that much speed, or you've got a running quarterback in like a Jalen Henderson or Max Brown or maybe Scotty Fox or whatever. Heck, maybe even Nico if he's in there and can run it and pull it and run. But either way, I know they didn't block well. I'm hoping they improve on that each and every week. I'm hoping last week was a bit of an anomaly. And I'm hoping, like I said, at the very least, it's an extra body you put in the way of somebody just to buy you some time. The problem is, though, you bring that tight end in. That means that's one less receiver you have for the pass game. But anyway, Rich Rod knows what he's doing when it comes to offensive ball. He'll figure something out. He's done it all. It's not his first time around the block. He's had to rely on the pass game. He's had to rely on the run game. Here's what I think they need to do. You need to figure out a way to get the ball in Cam Vaughn's hands as much as possible. Throw it to him in the screen game like you did against Robert Morris. Throw it to him in the screen game. Even put him in a slot if you have to. Get that man the football. Please, somehow, some way, get him the football. I'm not saying force it into double coverage or anything, but try to scheme up ways to get him the ball. We need Cam Vaughn to be the guy now, especially with Jahiem out. He's got to be the number one guy because he's really the top playmaker on the offense now. Yes, you need some guys to step up to take Jaden Bray's place, yes. But to be the go-to guy when you need a big play or you need some yardage, you don't have Jahiem to go to, you've got Cam Vaughn to go to. You at least have somebody in that lineup. But can the line hold up and can the quarterback get him the football? Those are the two keys. The pass blocking actually was not that atrocious. It wasn't great, but it wasn't bad either. So, the pass they've done a little better so far pass blocking than they have run blocking. So maybe that bodes well for the pass game. We'll see. But at the same time, Pitt's probably also going to key on that, right? They're going to try to make West Virginia run the football. They might say, hey, Jahiem White's not in there anymore. Let's see what your other guys have. It'll be interesting to see what strategy Pat Narduzzi uses against this Mountaineer team on Saturday. Does he roll in and stack the box, try to stop the run, or does he lighten the box and try to stop the pass? It'll be interesting to see. Daniel Gigak says, get your friends to sub to Couz's show. He is 240 away from 10,000. Thank you, Daniel. And I will plan something special. I don't know what that's going to be just yet. I will try to do something special for my 10,000 to celebrate my 10,000 once I get there. Denny Allen says, couldn't hurt. Talking about the tight ends. Big Dan T says he'll be there. Put him in the game. I would say put me in, man, but I got a jacked up vertebrae. Losing Stewart as tight end coach hurt that much. I'm not sure if it's that or just the guys they got aren't blocking very well right now. I think they got a couple guys who were known more for their pass catching and less for their blocking. I think they tried to get guys who were good at both, but anyway, or maybe it just hasn't clicked with these guys yet. Who knows? Faza says use some second team O-line. You don't know what you got till you try. I'm glad you brought that up because they asked Rich Rod about that during the show tonight. And he basically said he would like to roll 7 or 8 guys in there. But he didn't really say why he didn't. But he did say he wants to use more guys up front. I do know that Rich sometimes leans on his position coaches to make substitutions. So maybe for whatever reason, Jack McNeil number one, they only got 50, they run 51 plays on offense, all they ran, I think. So they didn't have a whole lot of time. I mean, they didn't have a whole lot of and when you're losing, you want your best guys in the game, and they feel like these are the 5 best linemen they have right now. Maybe they don't want to risk bringing anybody else in. But, man, if you've got guys that aren't performing, and there are a couple of those linemen that have really not performed well for 2 weeks in a row now, shouldn't you try somebody new? That if the second teamers are that bad, we're in for a long season. I mean, at least give them a shot, man. At least give them a shot. Did they perform that bad against James Madison? I mean, against Robert Morris, that you couldn't give them more snaps against Ohio? I don't know, but I'm kind of with you, Faza. Hope I pronounced it right. I would love to see. Maybe they will roll more guys in now that Rich Rod has made that comment. Maybe that's something on his mind that he'll tell those coaches to do. Because at the end of the day, he is the head coach, right? And he can tell them if he wants them to put more guys in the game, they can do that. Talkers Pitt says he thinks WVU will keep it close in the first half, but y'all do lack depth with experience. It's hard to argue with that, man. At certain positions, you're absolutely right. Kenny Evans in the house says, who do you see taking White's place? Any news on Katzer? No news on Katzer that I'm aware of. I mean, honestly, if you base strictly on what we've seen the last 2 weeks, they're going to stick Clay Ash in as RB1. Personally, I would like to see Sincere Bowers or Ty Edwards in there as RB1 because I'm just not sure. I'm not saying Clay Ash doesn't deserve to play. I'm not saying he doesn't deserve to be on the field. I'm not saying he's a terrible player by any means. But I just don't think he gives you that level of explosiveness that you need. And again, maybe he does have it. He just hasn't had a chance to showcase it yet because of the poor blocking. I don't know. Obviously, the coaches see him at practice. They know more than we do. But just based on what little bit we know and what we've seen so far, Bowers and Edwards gives you, and I know Edwards hasn't carried the ball, but by watching his tape from Northern Iowa, he gives you a level of explosiveness that I'm not sure Clay Ash can give you. So I'm hoping it's one of those guys, but based on experience, I expect it to be Clay Ash running out there with RB1. But even if somebody else starts, that doesn't mean that guy has to get majority of the snaps. Big Dan T says 10,000 tattoo and big flying WV on top of your head. No on the tattoo. Not that I wouldn't get a tattoo, but not that one. And I actually do want a West Virginia tattoo at some point, but it won't be on my head. And it likely won't be a flying WV, but maybe a state outline. Kenny Evans says Rich Rod went 0-3 last year and still won conference championship. I believe in him. Go WVU. Yeah, he did, and that's something a lot of fans keep forgetting. This is not his first rodeo. Now, it's a little different, and he did talk about that tonight on the show as well. At Jacksonville State, he did have more guys coming back that had been in the system. Didn't have a ton of returning starters, but he at least had guys coming back that had been in the system. Whereas this year there were fewer of those even. And, the schedule that they had to play at Jacksonville State was probably not anywhere near. And I know it's based on they were playing at their level based on the resources being equal, right? But even with that, I'm not sure the schedule they play. I think the schedule they played may have been a little more challenging than what West Virginia's faced so far, if that makes sense. For example, I think they even played a P4 team during that 3-game stretch, where West Virginia is a P4 team, and so far they've played 2 lower level teams. You can see what I'm saying? Daniel Gigak says, I was worried about the O-line gelling. It seems like they didn't, and a good O-line is essential to winning games. Amen. But let's not forget, gelling is something that takes time. It takes reps. It takes snaps. And right now they only have 2 games together. So hopefully with each game forward, they'll get a little better. Now we need them to get a lot better, though, is a problem. Maybe they take huge steps between games 2 and 3. I don't know. And maybe it's possible that Ohio's front was just that good. I don't think so. But who knows? We'll see. T Jinx 048 says, I forgot to bring this up, but I'm a Steeler fan, and Jack Bicknell Jr. was our offensive line coach in the early 2010s, and our line was terrible under him, and he got run out of town. He's been fired from a couple jobs in the NFL, and I think maybe even a college job or 2. But Rich Rod coached with him at Ole Miss. Or was it Ole Miss? Yeah, I think it was Ole Miss. Seems to like him. I don't know, man. So far, obviously, I've not liked what I've seen, but I'm trying to give him more time. Obviously, 2 games is not a big enough sample size to pass judgment on a coach to me, but someone like you who has seen it already, it's interesting to hear that. So thanks for chiming in on that. I appreciate it. Yeah, it doesn't bode well, does it, Denny? It's kind of makes you nervous. It does me, for sure. All right, well, listen, I think that's all for tonight. I really appreciate everybody tuning in. Another shout out to another sponsor, Appalachia Digital, the ones who designed our website over at WV Sports Chat. Go check them out. If you want a new site or want to level up your current site, go to AppalachiaDigital.com/Couz. They will hook you up just like they did us. Thank them for supporting the show. Do have a couple more comments here as I was talking. Seem to come in at the same time. Big Dan T says, until that happens, you don't want to disturb that. So I don't see them running other guys in right now, and that's a great point too. Dan, that's something I thought about earlier today. If you've got your offensive line and they're all new together, and you need them to gel, and they need snaps together, if you start bringing in more subs, then that's just messing up that a chance to get them to gel. And maybe that was Jack Bicknell's thinking and Rich Rod's thinking last week is these guys need to play as many snaps together as possible before we get into Big 12 play. Maybe that's what they're thinking, because by the time they get into Pitt and Big 12 play, they want to be ready to go to. They need to be gelling together. It's a great point. It's something I thought about earlier today, but I had forgot to mention on the show. So thank you for bringing it up. And he also says, being a former O-lineman, in my opinion, the reason we have not seen more guys is these guys have had to build synchronicity. Yep. Sorry, I read those comments in the wrong order, but point still stands. Maybe they're trying to develop synchronicity and let these guys gel together, so they're trying to get more snaps together. Great point. Talkers Pitt expects a West Virginia win 34-7. Pitt win 34-17. Tyler Cobb's in the house. Says, what are the chances Rich knows in the grand scheme of things that Ohio game didn't mean much and he didn't want to put anything on tape for Pitt? To me, play calling seemed very vanilla. I don't think that's the case, Tyler, but it's very possible. He probably thought he could win the game. Maybe he thought he could win the game without putting a ton on tape, but I got a feeling that's not the case, because they were able to watch enough tape on that Ohio team to see how good they were. And I think they were doing anything they could to win. Hubbard, no news, Kenny, other than Rich Rod said he wants to get him more snaps, and maybe this is the week he does it with Jahiem being out. That's really about it. Really about it. Tyler, it's a great question, and it's something else I've considered. I've had a lot of thoughts go through my mind the last couple of days. That's one of them. I doubt that's the case, but heck, you never know, because the game doesn't mean as much. And maybe their focus was to get guys ready to go and help guys gel together more so than I don't want to say more so than winning, but more so than getting guys backup snaps, so to speak. And they probably thought they could win the game without doing that. All right. I appreciate it. Again, shout out to my sponsors. Want to give a quick shout out to my VIP members. I forgot to do that too. Paid VIP members of this episode, which is one of the perks of being a member. Lonnie Johansson, Earl Carr, WVU Fan 13, Okie King, and Todd Biela. Thank them all for being the paid VIP members. Also, thanks to those who were in the chat, the ones who had badges beside their name. They're all VIP members as well. If you want to be a VIP member, just join the channel, hit the join button below, or hit the join button over at my channel homepage beside my logo / profile picture. Thanks again to the Rogue Media Network for making me part of their team. Thanks again to DraftKings for supporting the channel. Thanks to you all for watching, for listening. Please hit the thumbs up button on your way out. If you haven't yet, if you're watching on the replay, thumbs up still helps. I appreciate your support. God bless, and Q Country Roads.